Alright, well, welcome back to Springheel's speed build. So in this video we're going to take a little bit of time to explain two different steps in map creation that I find very useful, but that I think are not widely known. The first is about testing internal leaks. Now, we've tested the map to make sure it doesn't leak into the void, but we have all of these viz portals in between rooms. For example, this one in the door. Now, it's quite possible that this is not snapped to the ceiling geometry. There could be a gap here for all we know, and this viz portal may actually not be functioning. If it didn't work, the map would still demap. There'd be no message telling you that this viz portal had a problem. But what would happen is in game, you would see that the sound would go right through the wall. And that's not ideal. Not only would you not get the performance benefits of the viz portal, but the sound wouldn't work properly. And if you've ever played maps where you've noticed that the footsteps of the AI seem far louder than they should be, given how far away the AI is, that's probably the result of an internal leak. So here's my method for finding and fixing those. We're first going to turn off all the entities because entities play no part in viz portaling at all, so we want to get rid of them. Now there's an extra thing here that I haven't had to do before because I've never used prefabs like this with the grouping feature that the new Dark Radiant has. So what's happened is that some of these, notice when I hid the entities, some brushes stuck around from some of the things that were made out of a combination of entities and brushes. And what's going to happen is if I select this map, even though I'm only taking the brush parts of this, because it's grouped, when I copy this map, which I'm about to do, and paste it, all of the things that are grouped with this, all of the entities that are grouped together with this will come along for the ride, and I don't want that. So this is an extra step. I'm going to hold Shift, drag out, select everything, and then just click Ungroup. And notice how these turn red. Now that means that now only the brushes will be selected. So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to draw this out. I'm going to select everything, and then I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to make a new map. I'm not going to save what I've done, and I'm going to paste. So only the things that we copied got pasted, which means there are no entities in this map at all. And that's good, because when there is a leak to the outside, to the void, the point file will trace a line from an entity to the void. And I want to control which entity it draws the line from. And I'm going to do that by having only a single entity in the map, which is going to be the player start. So we're going to put that player start here, and we're going to put it right where the player actually does start. And then we're going to find a spot where we can open an open a leak, open something to the void. And we're going to do that right here. Now, I'm going to move both of these brushes back just to make sure that it does open a leak at the far end of the map. And then I'm going to save this. Save as viz portal. I've done this before, so I have previous maps. And then we will start up the dark mod, and we'll demap, and it's going to leak because we opened this up. Now we just want to check and make sure that the point file is, so it's starting here and then it's going out of the gap we just made, which is perfect. This is what we want. Now we're going to start here, and we are going to test one viz portal at a time. So we're going to start with this one. So we select that, and we're going to make it some kind of solid texture, just like that, something where you can see it really nice and easy. And then we're going to save it. Now, when we demap it again, if this viz portal is made correctly, then the computer will try to draw a trace from this entity, the player start, through to this gap that we made over here. But if this viz portal is created correctly and there's no leaks or no gaps, it won't be able to get through. And so it'll demap completely because there's no entity that actually can get to the void. So let's see what happens. If it leaks, then we know, okay, no, it worked. So we know that that viz portal is correct. If it leaked, that would mean that there's some way through here, but there's not. So we're going to delete that one. That one's now done. We've tested it and it's correct. So now we move along to the next viz portal. Now I see a viz portal that sticks through the wall. That's not ideal. And we'll check that one. So we'll do the same thing. We will save, go here and demap, and it works. Good. So we know that that one is okay as well. So now we'll just delete it. Now, I should mention there is one way that this method's not foolproof, and this actually happened earlier. One of our viz portals was actually sticking out. So if our brush was like this, viz portals only affect one plane, so it would only affect this. And if this side was viz portaled, let's see if I can make that happen. No, wrong way. I don't know how to switch it. I guess we could do that. See, if the viz portal's on this side, well then there actually is a gap on the side here, and this viz portal wouldn't work, but when we make it cloth, it would, because now it's making all the sides cloth. So this actually would work. So you can get a false negative using this method. So it's important as you turn them into brushes, you check and make sure that they're actually flush, that they actually touch what they're supposed to touch. Okay, so this side should be, we'll test this one. Okay, so we found one that leaked. So there is a problem with this one, and let's find out where it is. Alright, so the viz portal, what? Oh, it's able to get under the floor. Oh, okay, it still goes out here, but it's under the floor, because remember remember how we did not make the floor a ceiling brush. Maybe we should have done that, because yeah, this doesn't go all the way down to the ceiling brush. It only goes down to the floor. I wonder if we're going to have that problem for all of these. Let's check. Yep, we're going to have that problem for all of these. Well, there was a bit of a downside to doing it that way. Okay, so we have found a problem. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to fix it on here, and I think the way that we'll fix it is to grab that. What is the way to fix it? Well, one way to just be grab everything and pull it down. The other way would be to move this up and replace what the player is walking on, but I'm worried if we do that, it's going to create Z-fighting. So let's grab these and this. Might as well grab all of these at once. And we will move them all down so that they at least touch ceiling world spawn. Save it. Okay, good, so that fixed it. So now we're going to go to the real map and make the same change. So we know what needs to be fixed. We'll go out into the warehouse area, and let's hide the floor, and we'll grab this, this, and this, and that. And we will, it looks like, oh, we didn't delete all of the floors, but that's okay. And we will, oh, come on. Oh, what happened there? Another one of those annoying mouse jumps. Okay, hold shift, drag down, and that will do. Okay, so we'll save there, then we'll go back to our visportal map. Well, come on, visportal. Now, so we know that this one is okay, so now we'll test this one. And I don't know if it's necessary to go through the entire procedure here. I think you get the idea. Okay, that one's good. The idea is you just keep turning these into carpet or some other texture and just keep demapping. And as long as the map demaps okay, then you know your visportal works. It's only when you run into problems that you have to worry about fixing one. Now sometimes in some maps you will have, here's one I just want to check and make sure everything, yeah. Sometimes in maps you will have maps where you can go different directions, and so then you've got to think a little bit about how you get from your entity, the player start, to your gap. You might have to open gaps in a few different places to test. Okay, so there we have a problem. So where is it getting through on this gap? Wow, that is a mess. What the heck? Where did it go? I don't even... Oh, I wonder if it's under the floor again. Yes, it is. Okay. That floor may have been a bad decision in the long run. Okay, so we're going up here, and we have a leak that gets out. So this does not completely match or completely touch the side. Yeah, you can see it now. So we need to move it over so it does. Looks like it does everywhere else. And save it. Make sure that that solves the problem. And that did solve the problem. So then we go back to our real map and we do the same thing there. So we are over here, and it's this viz portal here, and the problem is that it does not touch this wall, at least not at the top. Yeah, I see that wall actually is different than the other wall. I don't know why. But we solved it by moving the viz portal last time, so let's stick to the same solution. There. Okay, I think you get the idea. That's really all there is to it, and it allows you to more easily find where the viz portals are because you have gotten rid of all the entities from the map. It allows you to control which entity the point file will draw from. Oh, sorry, we're on our real map again, I forgot. And it is the easiest way that I know of to test and make sure all your internal viz portals work. So I'm going to continue this and finish it off, but in the meantime, when we come back, we're going to look at the very last thing before the map is complete, and that is difficulty settings. Alright, well I finished checking the other viz portals, found one more leak, but everything else looks good. So now I think we're ready to do our final thing, and that is difficulty levels. Now I find most mappers do not make very effective use of difficulty levels. They use them when they're coming up with objectives, but not much beyond that. And there's so much you can do to vary levels by difficulty. So I'm going to show you just a few ways to do that. The first thing we're going to do is name our difficulty levels, and to do that you just have to select a brush, any world spawn brush, and you put these spawn args on it. difficulty 0 name. And that will give you the name for the easiest difficulty, which I like to call normal. And then you do the same thing level 1, which is hard, and 2 is expert. And you put that on any brush in the map, anything that's world spawn, and that will be set. Now, what can you do with different difficulty levels? Well, I like to do things, I'm going to show you a few examples. So first of all, you can have things that only spawn in the map if the player picks a different difficulty. For example, I am going to take this path corner, clone it, and move it out here. So this path corner 17, I'm going to delete any property on it, and then I'm going to target it from this one. And I'm going to target this from, or two rather, this one. Actually, hold on a minute. I'm not going to target it from this. I'm going to target it from the path wait. I want the AI to wait there and then path to this. So what this will do, it means that sometimes the AI, when he gets down here and finishes waiting, instead of turning and walking down the hall, he'll go through the door and he'll take the long route around, which is a bit of a surprise for the player. So I'm going to put on this the following spawn arg. Diff 2, actually sorry, diff 0, no spawn, and then 1. What this means is that on difficulty level 0, which is easy, this will not spawn, which means this will not be here. So on easy, the AI will not have the option to go through here. He will always turn around and go back to the other path node. But if you want to make it trickier and have him go places that the player doesn't expect, you can do this by putting extra path nodes and putting that spawn arc on them. Let's put another one here. We'll put a path corner here. Path and path corner. And we'll floor it. And then what we'll do is okay, so let's hide that. When our torch guard comes back here, this is the corner he goes to, path corner 117. So that's just after he goes here, right? Yeah. So he goes from here and then he walks all the way back over to here. Well, I'm going to tell him to sometimes go to this one. And once he's here, he'll do exactly the same thing. He'll turn and he'll wait and he'll do exactly what he normally does. But instead of being here, he's going to be back closer to the loot, which will make things harder for the player. But again, we will make it so that this does not happen on easy. In fact, we'll put one of these on as well, so it only happens on the most difficult level. Sometimes he's going to stand here, sometimes he's going to stand here, and the player won't know which one it's going to be. So little things like that, where you spawn things on certain difficulty levels, can really change things up and keep the player on their toes. You can have entire AI that are not present at certain difficulties in the map. In fact, I think in St. Lucia, there's guards that are only there if you're playing on expert. So that's one thing you can do. You also can change the details of particular entities. For example, let's pick a light. Let's say this light here. Let's say we want the AI to relight this light if if the player is playing on difficult. If we want to do that, we do this. So we start off the same, diff 1, well actually let's put diff 2 for expert. Change 0. So this is what spawn arg do we want to change? And what we want to change is the should be on value. And then we put the arg, we keep the 0 the same so that it knows what goes with what. What do we want the argument to be on expert? And we want it to be 1. So that means that if the player selects difficulty 2, if they select expert, this light will be set to should be on 1. If they play on the other levels, it will not have that. And I'm going to do the same thing on here. Actually, let's turn our biz portals off so that we can just get out of the way, you. Grab the spawn arcs quickly and don't have to retype them. And just apply. So now those two lights will be relit, but only on expert. I'm not going to bother putting them down here. Maybe it's only the guy in the top hall that feels like relighting stuff. And what about, let's do the same thing with some doors. So let's go up here. And let's say that if this safe, in fact, let's say that, show in here, let's do it like this, okay. So it should be closed, 1. Now what that means is that if the AI notices this safe open, they will get suspicious, which I think makes a lot of sense in terms of story, but it could be harsh on players who are not quite as skilled. So let's say that if we are playing on easy, diff 0, change 0, should be closed, and diff arg 0, 0. So normally by default, should be closed will be set to 1, but if they play on the easiest level, it'll be 0, and the AI won't notice if this is left open. And you can do that all over the place. You can have doors that are suspicious on certain difficulty levels but not others, lights that the AI will get suspicious about on some but not others. In fact, you know what, just for the heck of it, since we can do this easily, I'm going to grab this and I'm going to do something different here. I'm going to say that's what we want to change. Oh, no, wait. Okay, I want to delete that. I want to change this on the hardest difficulty. If they pick expert, then AI will notice arg if this chest is open. Okay, so now it should be closed 1, but only if they're on expert. Lastly, you can make global changes to the map, and they have a difficulty editor under map. And these are the 3 difficulty settings: easy, hard, or normal, hard, expert. And you can add things here and do all kinds of changes. One that I like to do, and I've done this for a few maps, is to pick world spawn, and the spawn arg that I want to change is light gem adjust, and the argument I'm going to add 2. And what that means is if the player plays on the hardest difficulty, their light gem is always 2 stages higher than it would be if they were playing on some other difficulty, and that's just a nice way of making things slightly more difficult for the player if they choose to play on expert. But you can do all kinds of things with that difficulty editor, and if you look on the wiki page on difficulty, it will give you a lot of ideas of things that you can do with that. So that's just a quick glimpse of what you can do with difficulty levels. I hope that was useful. I'm not going to make too many more changes about that, just those ones for illustration. But it is a nice way to sort of tailor the map to different play styles or different levels of skill. So remember when I was trying to get this objective to get to the right spot? And my window kind of looked like that. Well, thanks to Destined and Aosis in the forums for pointing out that there are supposed to be arrows under here, just as I remembered, but my window was too small. When you drag your window down, you see the move up and move down. So I'm going to move up that one there, and that should be good. We'll save that. And while we're at it, one other thing I was going to show you about the difficulty settings is how easy it is to change the radius of lights. This area here is a bit of a challenge because it's so well lit, and I'm not sure that's the level of challenge I want for players who are playing on easy. So we're going to ungroup that selection. We are going to take the light radius, so we'll take diff 2, so on actually diff 0, change 0, and what we will change is light radius, and we will change it arg. What we will change it to is 140. Oops. Currently it's 140, 127, 190. So let's change it to, we'll make it a little thinner and a little shorter. So 100 and 140, let's say. That will make the light smaller on easy, which means that there'll be more shadows in here to make it a little easier for the player to get around. So you can spend quite a bit of time tweaking your map to give players a challenge that matches their skill set. With that, I think we are just about ready. Now, the map needs a briefing, which I have started composing but haven't typed up yet. It needs a loading screen, and it needs to be packaged as a PK4. But that's pretty much it. The rest of the map is built. So I'm not going to bother filming those things. I don't think it's going to be that interesting to watch me type or put a picture together in Photoshop. So I am now going to put this map together, prepare it for beta testing, and I'm going to get some people to beta test it in the forums. I'll do some testing myself. We'll see what kind of things come up that need to be addressed, and if things need to be fixed, I will let you know what those are. But I think the final video that I post after this will be the one that summarizes the fixes that had to be made before the mission was finally released. So thanks very much for watching, and until next time, happy mapping.